To
Let's talk
artificial
about AI
superintelligence,
and
we
this
will
growing
become
fear
irrelevant,
that
but
it's
to the
going to make us
Creator Allah,
all,
we are always
irrelevant.
relevant.
But what if we're measuring our own relevance by a totally wrong standard? Today, we're going to look at a really fascinating perspective from a Quranic framework that gives a completely different answer to this whole question of human purpose. So, let's get into it.
I mean, this question is everywhere, right? You hear it at tech conferences, you probably talk about it at your own dinner table. As AI gets smarter and faster and just more capable, you have to wonder, what happens to us? Where do we actually fit in a world like that? And look, this is really the core of the fear, right here. The argument is, well, it's brutally simple. If an AI can run the entire world economy more efficiently than we can, then what are we for? Suddenly, our value, at least in the marketplace, starts to look really, really fragile.
And that leads us right into what you could call the great anxiety of our age, this idea of a coming irrelevance. And listen, we're not just talking about losing jobs here. This goes deeper. We're talking about a potential loss of meaning itself.
I mean, think about it. For so many of us, our sense of purpose is completely tied up in what we do, our work, our productivity, how we contribute. So when that's not needed anymore, wow, that is so much more than just an economic problem. It becomes a full-blown identity crisis.
Okay, so let's just play this out for a second. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we do become irrelevant to the economy. This giant machine that, kind of ironically, we're the ones who built it in the first place. But relevant to whom? And this is the pivot. This is the one question that just changes the entire conversation. Because what if we've been focused on completely the wrong thing this whole time? What if being relevant to the economy was actually never the point at all?
So yeah, this is where we see a complete shift in perspective. We're basically taking the whole debate away from our relevance to human-made systems, and we're pointing it towards something else entirely. And the catalyst for this big shift? It's a phrase that comes up again and again in the Quran. Afala taqilun. I mean, it appears dozens of times, and it acts like this constant invitation to a different way of thinking. And what it means is it's so much more than just to think. It's really a challenge. It's asking, will you not use your intellect, use your reason to see a deeper truth, to see a purpose that goes way, way beyond spreadsheets and quarterly productivity reports?
So you end up with these two totally different ways of looking at relevance. On one side, you've got relevance to AI, right? And that's all about efficiency, productivity, data processing. But on the other side, you have relevance to the creator, and that's measured by completely different things: worship, justice, moral deeds.
And this is what brings us to the core argument here, the idea of a divinely assigned five-fold purpose for humanity. And if you look at it from this perspective, our real purpose was never about our jobs in the first place. Okay, so here they are, just at a glance. Worship, stewardship, the idea that we're here to be tested, to know God, and to uphold justice. You know, an AI can process a ton of data, but it can't do any of this. Let's just zoom in on a couple of these to get a better idea.
So first up, there's worship, or ibadah. And we're not just talking about ritual prayer here. This is a much bigger, more holistic idea. It's about living your whole life in a state of conscious submission and devotion, where basically every good and moral thing you do becomes an act of worship. And then there's this really interesting concept of khalifa, which translates to something like a steward or a vicegerent. And the idea is that humanity's role is to be a steward on Earth. We've been entrusted with moral agency, with the responsibility to be just and ethical, and crucially, it means we're accountable for what we do.
And that whole idea of accountability, well, that leads us straight into another core concept. What if this life isn't meant to be a career, but a test?
The Quran is actually super direct about this. It says God created death and life specifically to test us. But a test of what exactly? It's not our IQ, it's not how much money we make or how productive we are.
Now, the real metric for success isn't something you can count. It's qualitative. The phrase used is ahsanu amalan, and that just means excellence in action, or, the best of deeds. It all comes down to our moral and ethical character.
So, okay, if life is a test, then it stands to reason there's got to be a result, right? A reward. And that's what we're going to look at now, how success is defined completely beyond the stuff of this world. And the rewards that are described are pretty incredible. We're talking about forgiveness and divine mercy, of course, Jannah or paradise, and this deep sense of honor and security, freedom from the very same fear and anxiety that we started this whole conversation with.
But wait, there's even more.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. There's this sort of hierarchy of rewards. After describing all the amazing things in paradise, the Quran says that the pleasure of Allah, Ridwan Allah, is actually greater than all of it. So the ultimate reward isn't physical at all, it's spiritual.
And the whole system of reward is described as being just incredibly generous. Like, a single good deed is promised to be multiplied at least 10 times, which really emphasizes this idea of divine mercy over some kind of strict one-for-one transaction.
So all of this, it all culminates in one powerful concept, falah. And that means comprehensive felicity or ultimate success. It has nothing to do with being the wealthiest person or the most efficient worker. It's about achieving a state of complete well-being and eternal divine acceptance.
So here's the bottom line. According to this framework, our relevance was never in danger from AI in the first place. Why? Because it was never based on our economic output. Instead, our relevance is something inherent, something permanent, something that's totally rooted in our relationship with our Creator.
And that, it leaves us with a much bigger question to chew on. In a world that's so obsessed with what's next, with all this new technology reshaping everything, what is the role of faith? Can it give us a sense of purpose that actually lasts? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.